What's up guys, welcome to Monchkinz Gaming, where we take your gaming to the next level. This is Monchkinz logging in to bring you another Dissidia Final Fantasy Opera Omnia video. And welcome back to another, versus slash storytime video where I take on the hardest contents in the global version of the game, and as well as, do a little bit of story about the background, what's happening behind the scenes, from my videos. So anyway, let's start this video off. As always, we'll talk about the fight itself. Today's video is going to be about the Lufenia for Kurasame's event. So the team I went with, we'll go through them first. First is Warrior of Light. There's really no explanation needed. Great battery, great tank, able to block off any HP damage. Unfortunately, he doesn't really help in terms of freezing the timer for the Lufenia orbs, but nonetheless he is pretty good because of the overall damage that he can bring as a tank even. So that is it. Next one is Trey. Believe it or not, I brought Trey along. So there were actually two reasons for me bringing Trey along, and the second reason was actually quite a surprise to me, because I wasn't expecting that to be one of the reasons. But anyway, the main reason I brought Trey along is because I was looking through my roster and I was looking for a character that can, do a lot of damage. And Trey was one of the characters that I had my eye on. I haven't used Trey in a while, and I was one of the people who actually liked his kit and kind of hyped him up a little bit as well, back when he first came out, because of his ability to actually break enemies even if their brave is so high. So there was no reason not to bring him for other content, but for some reason I just don't see a lot of people actually ended up using him, even though I know quite a few people actually pulled on him as well. So that was my first reason. The second reason turned out to be because the bosses actually gain a lot of brave at certain amounts, at certain times during the fight. So it actually helped that when they actually gained that brave, it was pretty easy to break them, and therefore won't have to worry about having a big HP attack. Not that Warrior of Light could not block those HP attacks anyway, but nonetheless it is pretty helpful to have Trey along. His extra damage from his Rain of Arrows and the Dynamite Arrow as well really helped. They're extra damage that doesn't require extra turns, so that is always very nice to have, kind of like a counter for 8. Now for the last character on my party is Realm. I'm just making use of her as much as possible because I did end up having to pity her EX, which is really still hurts me to this day, but I end up having pitying her, so I just want to keep using her and make sure I use her to her full potential and make sure that it was well worth the investment, So anyway, she is the only character that I have that actually can freeze the Lufenia timer. So and you do need to have Shiva as well. Now if I actually didn't have Realm, there are still quite a few characters that are very, very helpful when it comes to this particular fight, and I think one of them is going to be Cater. Cater is one of the characters that has a ice element attached to her. You do need a lot of her cursed artifacts, specifically the ability 1 artifact. I think that is much more helpful in this case because you do need as much of that ability as much as possible to try and slow down the timer for the Lufenia orbs. So overall there's still other characters that I can think of, like Onion Knight is another one of the characters that I was thinking of. He can enchant thanks to his C65 ability. He can enchant the entire party with the ice element, so that is another one of the choices. And of course Kurasame, this is Kurasame's event. Kurasame is a character that is well worth investing in, not just for this event but for future events as well. Other characters, I can't really think of any other ice element characters. Papalymo is another one that has an ice element, but I don't know if there's a lot of people actually end up max limit breaking him, but if you did, he is another choice that you can bring along. Other than that, I don't think there's much more. From the top of my head, I think that's pretty much it. But yeah, there's certainly some options, although limited when it comes to this Lufenia stage. There's still that options. There are still quite a few options out there. So yeah, basically the fight went pretty well for me. I didn't really have any issues, apart from the start where I did get HP damage. I wasn't expecting them to do HP attacks straight away, but Warrior of Light can heal through that. It wasn't much of an issue really. And I guess if anything, the limiting factor for me here was Realm's ability to freeze the Lufenia orbs. I actually didn't time the Lufenia orbs to, at least the very first one, at 70% when it comes out. When it first comes out, I didn't really time it very well, like in terms of having both the Lufenia orbs up at the same time, right about the same time, because I think the best way to deal with this is to have both Lufenia orbs run at the same timer. That way you're not having to keep using your freeze ability or your ice element ability all the time just to try and stop them from taking or counting down, and especially with Realm, when she's got very limited amount of her sketch summon ability. I think that was probably the most limiting factor for me, and I gotta say, if I probably brought Cater along, I think it would have been much better, because she can definitely freeze the timer a little bit more. Maybe I could have swapped her with Warrior of Light. She does have the provoke ability as well, or provoke debuff that she can apply, although it only lasts for I believe it's just a turn, right? It's still very helpful. Like, having Cater here, I think is would be a blessing as well. I wouldn't say she's completely necessary, because I managed to beat it without her, but I think she's going to be very, very helpful if you do have her built up. I suppose you can have both Cater and Warrior of Light in the same team anyway, if you're a little bit more worried about getting HP damage from your other characters. So yeah, I just gotta say, there's quite a limit. The biggest limiting factor is having ice element characters. There's not a whole lot of them, at least from my memory. But anyway, like I said, if you can time the Lufenia orbs around at the same time, you can definitely save on your ability usage in terms of your ice element. Other than that, I didn't really have any much more issues with the fight itself. But yeah, I think having Noctis here as well, now that I think about it, because I thought initially that the timer will still count down. I thought this was a refresh. I didn't really read it properly, that the timer would just freeze. If I could just freeze the timer and then just use Noctis and still pirouette all the way, and having a Fred Noctis, which I did have here, if I did that, I would have saved a lot of turns and probably burned down the enemy boss's HP much quicker with Noctis as well. So, but I brought Trey along. I don't regret it, because I do want to showcase some of my characters that I don't use quite often. So yeah, that's all I really have to say about the fight. Overall, it was a decent fight. It's still not overly hard, right? I think it's still somewhere along the lines of a chaos difficulty fight with the added mechanic. Alright guys, so that is it for that. Let's talk about story time. Now, story time for me is, I hate to say it, I regret doing it, but I did get Kurasame's LD eventually. I'm not proud of it, but I did get it. I got my wife to actually tap on my phone, and then I did get it. But I wasn't, I'm not proud of what I did, but let's just put it that way. But the more interesting story right now is Dissidia is actually down. You know, both the global and JP version, and there's a lot of people who are itching to come back to start playing again. We are expecting some sort of apologems, like most people are calling them that. I don't know. I think their track record when it comes to apologems isn't that much. If I remember correctly, when things didn't go well, there wasn't a lot of like apologems. I'm not entirely 100% sure, but from my memory, there just wasn't that much. So don't expect to be given a lot of gems for this one, because it has happened in the past, and I do believe it wasn't that much. Just going from my memory, I could be wrong. They could just be very generous and just give out a lot of gems, or a reasonable amount. Let's just put it that way. A reasonable amount of gems. Yeah, I think that is the more interesting topic at the moment. A lot of people are just itching and waiting for the chance to come and play. I'm just surprised it's both the global and JP, but from what I can read, it's something to do with Square Enix bridge, something, you know, that kind of aligns to their server. So yeah, I've been excited to start playing the JP version as well, because you know, Leo's Burst and LD are coming out soon on that one, so I'm really hoping to start pulling. I do have a little bit more gems left, and I was hoping to grind out more gems before the actual event comes out, but that obviously didn't turn out like that. But any case, that's it for this video, guys. Please do remember to click like and subscribe if you haven't already, because it does help this channel. We are still trying to reach that 3,000 subscriber goal by the end of the year. It's not looking pretty, but I hope you guys help me out with that one. Hopefully, you know, you get your friends to come here and check out my content. I really would appreciate it if we can get there. Would really appreciate it. Yeah. Also follow me on Facebook and on Twitter at Monchkinz Gaming. Leave down in the comments below what your team was for this particular fight. Let me know down in the comments below, and your strategy as well. You know, I like to see a bit of variety now that we have Lufenia stages, that we're not stuck with all the boosted character all the time for the challenge quest. This is a breath and a sigh of relief for me, because it was getting stale. I was getting bored with the game. Like I'm being forced to use the boosted characters all the time. So yeah, let me know down in the comments below what your team is or was, and also I guess that things are going pretty well down here in Australia when it comes to the C word. And hopefully you guys are, you know, still staying safe, because I know out in the other countries, especially in Europe, it's been tough. Just stick with it and try to be safe as much as possible. I mean, us here, we were in lockdown for months and months, and you know, we're finally getting out. There has been 0 cases where I live. And I'm pretty, you know, we're all pretty happy down here, but we are still trying to get the message across that just to stay safe. You know, try not to be that idiot that causes another lockdown, right? But yeah, anyway, guys, that's it. Thank you very much for watching. This is Monchkinz logging off, and I'll see you guys in the next level.